Great segue to come to our next section, which is now that we know what Copilot extensibility is, how can we have different build approaches to kind of extend Copilot to your in-house line of business data or apps? What are the sort of scenarios that you should think of when you're kind of trying to build the first, second plugin within your organization? We've seen this slide, before. It's basically the different personas that you may have already given Copilot access to, or you are thinking about giving them Copilot licenses access. We have to understand who are these top users of Copilot within your organization, and what are the different data points or information that they need access to in their day-to-day work. Just giving an example over here, if we take the example of a sales executive, we have to first understand for that particular persona, what are the top jobs or what are the top daily hygiene stuff that the sales persona needs to take care of. Just giving a few examples over here, it could be for creating some sales proposals basis whatever conversations or archives are present for a particular lead or for a particular customer. What sort of opportunities or solution ideas do they need to come up with basis the work that they have done in that particular department or in that particular function. Just putting all of that together and creating some great stories and presentations. That's something that is done day in and day out by sales teams. And obviously to have a very engaging and fruitful conversation with the customer, they need access to a lot of background information about the customer, about the solution, about the proposal. So having information access, being able to spin up creative assets or docs or presentations, and being able to access historical conversations or information that they may have about the work area or about similar customers is something that this particular persona would need help with. And if we can just understand what are the pain points that go behind each of these jobs, it can kind of help us to narrow down what sort of scenarios or use cases should we think about. So for example, if it's for creating sales proposal, it is basically being able to help them to spin up creative assets or presentations. If it is about understanding what sort of agenda points should they cover when it comes to a first conversation with a customer lead, then it's basically helping them being more productive, getting information or giving them information in just a few queries or clicks on the Copilot chat interface. So we need to first understand who are those top personas within your organization who have access to Copilot today. After narrowing down to a few personas, we need to understand what are those top 2 3 jobs or data or information that they need access to in their daily lives, and what is the problem statement that we are trying to solve with them. Once we have those finalized, it kind of comes down to the third point that you see over here, to understand what are those questions or queries that this particular user persona is going to ask to Copilot. That's very light, high level prompt engineering. Meaning, if it's a sales persona, is it like, can you bring me up information about XYZ customer and any work that we may have done around IT infrastructure projects in the say for example retail industry. So Copilot is going to take up some of these parameters like the industry, the customer, the function or department like IT infrastructure, and it's going to query information about all of these parameters and give it back so that this particular user persona understands or gets the most value from the Copilot chat interface. And obviously it's just a way of thinking how what sort of queries are these personas are going to ask, and accordingly finalizing what sort of integrations or workflows do we need to think about if this is the target persona that we're going to do the first plugin for. um, yeah, so just to wrap up just a few questions for you to start thinking of when you have when you're thinking of scenarios for plugin. The first thing is obviously to understand what is that problem statement that you want to target. What is it that is a problem right now with your existing database or your existing information system, and what is it that you want to change or improve? If you think an integration with Copilot is going to improve certain things, what is it that we need to target? Post which, obviously, we need to understand who are those stakeholders or who are those user groups who are going to use this plugin day in, day out, and what are their top pain points, what are the top things that they're going to do, and what are the most commonly asked questions or needed information for these particular personas. Uh, Basis which we are going to design that these are going to be the user queries. This is how the manifest is going to understand the parameters that a user query is having, and pass those information to the REST API to get the response back accordingly. And obviously, Copilot LLM does its bit of magic to manipulate the text or to generate any text to give it a nice, beautiful format so that it's easy to consume. When it comes to tech considerations, we also need to understand what is that external system. Is it a structured database? Is it a docs repo, unstructured information? Is the information going to change very frequently or not? Everything that Satya touched upon on his final slide. These are some of the checkpoints that we need to have in mind when we decide to go for an integration scenario, and what sort of existing limitations that they may have, or if you have REST APIs in place, or do we want to build those APIs so that we can go ahead and build your first Copilot plugin. And yeah, once we have the plugin, it's always good to have some clear metrics that this is going to help us improve. Could be the business outcomes or problem statement that we started with, but it's always good to have that in mind, that what is it that Copilot plugin extensibility is going to help me with. Yeah, so these are some of the pointers that could help us think about, the scenarios when we decide to build a Copilot extensibility solution. With that, if there are no questions, then we can move ahead.
Thank you so much, Vandana. I think this is a really solid framework, something that we've used plenty of times in the past for building plugins for other organizations, on building plugins with our partners. So key areas, I've actually left a screenshot in the chat. This is something others can sort of look through immediately, copy over. We will also be sharing the deck and the recording for those interested. You can look through. Actually, even this slide is
Yeah.
is something that you can take a snapshot of depending on the scenario and depending on the persona, how you can match across to really imagine how extensibility scenarios will play out for your organization.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
so
just
much,
a
Vandana.
sample, just a
Yeah,
sample use case, to think about. Yep.
awesome. But yeah, I would say this is a good, I would say it's a guideline or a framework, at least an art of possible to help you start
Yep.
thinking in terms of, how you can then reimagine the same for your organization based on the tools or applications with which you want to connect Microsoft Copilot.